Speaking of situations, Alexander Isak has arrived at the training ground this morning. There is said to be a meeting taking place this afternoon, but it is the general consensus now, even by the Newcastle press, Jamie, that a move to Liverpool is getting closer. How do you see this one panning out in the next few days?
I think next few days it'll be interesting because obviously with Newcastle coming back from their preseason tour and Isak coming back to Newcastle from Real Sociedad, what developments will come of it? From what I've seen, Craig Hope, who's been reporting on it really well, obviously a Newcastle-based journalist, he's saying that the most likely option is that Newcastle are going to sell Isak to Liverpool for a record fee. Now, I think Liverpool putting in the 110 million, 120, whatever, in between around that kind of region. And they said they're not going to come in with another bid until Newcastle obviously want to negotiate because of their rebuttal was so strongly last time. They feel like there's no kind of talking with Newcastle at the time. But I think, like we were saying earlier on, once the Sesko deal accelerates, if that comes over the line, if Vissa maybe comes over the line, there's talk of Brentford saying that they're kind of open now to selling Vissa, which would be good. And yeah, I think the deal does get done. I think there's just kind of some things that they're trying to figure out at the minute in terms of, there's obviously some dominoes that need to fall into place before it happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was done by the start of the first game of the Premier League season. But I think most fans are around 135 million. I think 150 they're kind of pushing it, but I think if they can get it for 135 million pound, I think most Liverpool fans will be happy with that.
Jules, what's your take on Newcastle fans and their sort of reaction to Isak? You know, he's a rat, he's a scumbag, I never want to see him back, it's untenable, can't believe he's doing this. They're obviously hurt and frustrated. They're sort of ignoring the underlying stories that are saying that the club promised him he could either leave or they give him the money he's asking for. They've kind of gone back on that. What's your thoughts on it, Jods?
Do you know, being a fan that's been in this situation probably most recently than any other Premier League fan, you know, with Harry Kane and so on, I do understand completely where the fans are coming from. And to be honest, I don't think the fans are wrong in the way that they feel. I think they're generally right in the way that they feel, and I think they've been done wrong by Isak. And I know a lot of the time it's between the club and the player, and then it falls out, and the fans probably don't have the full story. But so let's have it right. Isak did wait until, you know, pretty much the end of July before saying or officially handing in his try. He may have had conversations with the club beforehand and an agent, but officially putting out there that he wanted Liverpool and that he wanted this move, it was the end of July. I would have thought that if he wanted to leave on a good note and on a high, it would have been done at the end of the season. And he says, well, thank you, Newcastle fans. I'm going to move on now. I felt, you know, I've won a trophy with you guys. I want to make sure that we get the right send-off, the right goodbye. Sort of what Sonny done. And he made it very clear that he's going to leave the club. So the club can then work all summer towards getting in a replacement and then also work towards getting the fee that they want so everybody's happy. And it leaves the fans in a much better place. Well, now the fans are left with, you know, they were going into the season thinking Isak's going to be there. And then it's like, oh, Isak's not going to be here all of a sudden. And we've been hearing the rumors for months, but they were being shut down. And it was like, oh, it's not actually going to happen. Now he's put the fans in a scenario where they're having to force themselves to like a Sesko, to like a Vissa, to accept the other strikers that are potentially going to be coming in so soon into the season. It's not like they've had a month to prepare for this. This is just a couple of weeks. And I can feel a lot of their frustrations are not with just Isak. It's with the club and probably the poor planning that they've had going into the season, because they've only brought in Alanga. They've only brought in one big, I didn't even say that's a big name. It's one starter, you should say, into their squad. I think a lot of the frustrations with the club, and it's being taken out on Isak. But Isak is going to be the scapegoat simply because, let's have it right, Isak's going to bring in the money and they're going to use the fact that, oh, we need to sell Isak to fund our window now. So then when Isak is sold, they're going to trickle it up with quite a few signings and hopefully the fans are going to be happy with that. But I'll be honest, I would say the way Isak's handled the situation has been completely wrong. It's been completely wrong. He went AWOL for a few weeks, said he wasn't going to come training. Then he's making it very clear that he only wants Liverpool. And yeah, that's all fine. You know, you want to make your move and every player deserves to get their dream move. But the timing of when he done it was poor. And then just the way that he's going to buy it, you know, going AWOL and stuff, just it wasn't the right approach. So I'll be honest. I understand again where Isak's coming from, wanting to do better in his career, and I don't think he's wrong for wanting this move. I just think he's wrong for the way that he's gone about it.
Was there not promises made to Isak from the old sporting director of Newcastle though? Once they got Champions League, that there was like an incentive they would get like a bonus or something, and that wasn't put forward. And then there was something to do with he was going to get offered a new contract. He's obviously turned that down. But I read something somewhere.
A new contract since though. Now, obviously,
no, yeah. But they said they weren't going to offer him new terms, and then because he said he wanted to leave, they're like, "Oh, now we will." There was something else. There was something else around a bonus if they got Champions League that they said it. They were going to get, and then they said no because the old sporting director left. I read that somewhere. I can't remember what it was.
So I haven't seen that. And if that is the case, then I can't even lie. Then put it all on Newcastle, because if you're promising him money like an extra 100k a week and he's not got that, then I can totally understand, because I think he's only on 120k. He's not on big money. It's quite small money for his amount, but. They obviously did offer him a new contract, but it's too late. And that's probably where the problem has come. You're offering him a new contract with a release clause. Should have done that about a month ago, and you would have had him for the new season. 250k a week, release clause of 140 million. Like, we're all happy. We're all happy here. But now that they've messed it up and they're probably going to get less money, I do think, for me, very cheeky of Liverpool to throw in a 110 million pound bid. Like, more than cheeky, because they done that knowing that they're going to put him in a position where Isak's going to have to force Newcastle to sell him, and they're trying to get it for under 150 million. That's ultimately what it is, and it's very cheeky.
My only issue with this is we don't know what we don't know. And as much as I said that Liverpool fans have the right to feel angry with Trent if they do, I still said, and it's one of my famous Fluers caveats is I'm waiting to see the wood for the trees, though, or the story that comes out, because I've always felt, and I even think some Liverpool fans would change their mind slightly, if it came out that FSG kept on offering him deals and Trent kept on saying, I just won't be signing one no matter what you offer me. I think people's mindset towards Trent will change. I.e., if it comes out and he says, I'm going to sign, but never did, then they're right to be angry. I think we need to wait for the stories to come out personally. I get why Newcastle fans in the first instance are moaning. I don't know if you boys have seen the way they're talking about Ornstein, the way they're talking about Fabrizio. That I saw one Newcastle fan do this whole video about how all the things that Fabrizio was saying are just being fed to him by Liverpool. It's all lies. It's all propaganda. And now most of what Fabrizio has said all along is starting to come true. In fact, journalists from about as early as April have been saying, watch this space. This deal's on. This deal's active. This deal could happen. And I think Newcastle fans actually got lied to by their media and by their club. No way. Not sell. Nothing will budge. This won't happen. I just feel, my personal feeling is, I believe there's been some type of conversation where Isak's been told he could probably go for the right money. I think that Isak's camp, similarly to Victor Gyökeres. So Victor Gyökeres, they were given a gentleman's agreement that he could leave for this amount of money. The club then went back on it because that sporting director left. There's a little bit of a similarity here. And the player said, but the club still promised me. At the end of the day, if you're at work and your current manager says, listen, George, you're getting a 10k bonus and a $5,000 pay rise, and then that manager leaves, but you've got an email trail that shows that you said you were getting it, you were going to, just because he left, you're going to demand the company still gives that to you. And I think that, I don't believe this is just someone that suddenly decided 3 weeks ago, I don't want to be here anymore. I think it's a longer situation than that. That all being said, I get Newcastle fans are angry. My problem with it, George, is that Newcastle fans, I know they're tweeting, and I know they're saying, before anyone says it, I don't like how Wissa's behaving either. When he's wearing your shirt and he walks out onto that pitch, you're not going to boo, are you? When he walks out onto that pitch, you're not going to, when he scores that goal, you're not going to say, I'm not celebrating in process to the lack of morality and integrity, how we got this deal. You're going to sit there and you're going to celebrate. And that's my problem with it. I think the older I've got, I'm like this in all walks of life. I'm someone I don't think you can protest for the slaughter of animals and then go and have a McDonald's. Right. I don't like, you can't say we've got to recycle more and then throw a glass bottle out your car window whilst you're driving down the street. I don't think you can be a celebrity moaning about fossil fuels, but you fly around in a private jet 5, 6, 7 times a month. I think there are certain times where you just have to step back and go, I'm keeping quiet on this because I'm a contributor. I used to work for a bank. Okay. Very open about that. I used to work with a guy that was an anti-capitalist. He used to go to anti-capitalist marches, and he was a private investment banker. It used to do and that's like a vegan butcher. I used to say to him, it's the weirdest. And that's how I view football fans, genuinely. It's like you will call Isak a rat. You'll abuse his family. He'll get all manner of abuse, from name calling, terrible pejoratives, right through to racism. And that won't be most Newcastle fans, by the way. But then a player will do the exact same thing to join you, and they become a legend. And that's why I don't have any sympathy for fans anymore. Because I'm part of that problem. We are so fickle. If right now Belieber forced his way out of Brighton to join us, I'm celebrating that. Therefore, I'm not going to lose my mind with a Man United player anymore that wants, like with Garnacho. And we haven't even gotten to Chelsea yet, but Garnacho and liking that post. Yeah, he wants out. You know, I can't. Yeah, it's immature. It's stupid. It's wrong. But you know what? If Sesko started doing that now to get out of Leipzig, am I going to cheer Sesko's goals? Yes. So I'm not going to cry about it like a baby now, personally.